Hey everybody, it's April 13th, 2019. I'm Paul Power, and this is Robert Nelson. He's going out of body, making contact with the Andromedans. This is an Andromedan contact series, episode, if you will. Last week, we got a tour of the Zaahyin starship. The Zaahyin priests are an upper echelon level of the Andromedan race. They look after the Andromedans. They are Andromedans more or less at the highest level. Very esoteric beings. And we were really hoping to get on a Andromedan starcraft. Not the ones from this galaxy that Alex Collier, anyone who knows that name, was in contact with. He was in contact with Andromedans from this galaxy. These are the Andromedans from back in the home world, and from Andromeda. And they promised a tour of one of their city starcraft, Andromedan style, as opposed to the Zaahyin craft that we were on last week. So here we go. Bob is out in space. And,
I was.
Now you're on craft, I take it?
I'm on I don't know, it's hard for me to understand where I am right now.
Bob's quick, he doesn't mess around. He knows what he's doing.
There's a cylindrical, really bright cylindrical craft. I'm assuming a craft.
And this is one of those giant city crafts, right?
Well, the triangular giant city craft is off in the distance from me.
Yes.
It's actually over Saudi Arabia, way out in space, of course.
Okay.
And,
it's an interesting place to be.
yeah.
Without,
But it's like I'm in some kind of circular, cylindrical conduit between where I was and where the craft is.
Well, I guess we're going to have to find out. No doubt that they locked onto you. This meeting was planned, so they were expecting us, and the date and the time and everything was set. So
The
I'm sure they're guiding you.
Andromedan space cruiser, city-sized space cruiser, has lost a lot of its color. It looks like if you were looking at metal, polished metal, with an oil slick over it and the kind of murky rainbowish colors that can produce. It's not bright like it normally is.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's powered down some or it's changed its nature somehow. I'm assuming this is the Andromedan commander who's giving me a name of Tereshka, that's his name, refers to me as Earthbird.
You've been called worse.
I'm sure. He's got to be at least 6'8" or taller, 6 feet 8 inches or taller. Blonde and orange hair that seems to be combed back into like a feather arrangement that goes up in the middle of the hair and then curls back. like something the Aztec kings or priests would have worn, or something that the Hawaiian kings would have worn. He's holding a flat oval-shaped object that's about a foot across and about 10 inches high. He's showing me a picture of my old place in Lakeland. So I guess he's indicating that they have sort of like a history on me. All right, I'm going to describe this best I can. We're in some sort of command center. There's a circular empty area with a floor. I'm going to have to guess that it's probably about 10 feet across. Dark grayish colored floor, maybe carpeting, but I don't know for sure. It looks like it could be some kind of carpeting. Medium gray to charcoal gray bits of color in it. There's like a big expanse of slightly cream color, slightly milkyish color, non-reflective, flat surfaces around him. He's standing in the middle of this empty area, but there are flat surfaces all the way around. There seem to be other people. Thing is, it's like they phase into my view for a few seconds, and then they phase out. They're there and then they're gone.
Well, you wanna ask him where you are and who the people are, and maybe he'd grace us with a little bit of a guided tour.
He says, we have a treat. This is one of their main command centers. He's calling it a command range, but I guess it's the same thing. He says, almost no one from another species or another culture is ever granted permission for this.
So this is where they kind of control the ship?
He says yes, and the immediate space around the ship.
Are there not chairs against, toward the walls where they sit?
No, I don't see any chairs at all.
So you guys are comfortable standing on your watch?
He says yes, and that they can renew themselves every microsecond if need be.
So are your shifts like 6-7 hours or something, or?
He says no. He says, to put it in our terms, people come when they're needed, and then they dissipate and go somewhere else on board.
So you guys are existing at 5D and above?
He says multiple dimensional existence.
Cool. So and you don't have to worry about a body per se that can become fatigued or anything like that.
When they're in home port situations, they have bodies. When they're, and I'm getting this from him, when they're on assignment, they're existing in, I don't understand. A warped dimensional space, often between dimensions, where the laws of sacred geometry, as we call it, are applied somewhat differently.
Mm-hmm. And right now he's communicating telepathically. He's not speaking to you.
Strangely enough, I see his mouth moving, but I hear words, so I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Given the strange situation I'm in, I have to just guess.
Well, ask him. Sure, he'll tell you.
He says, if I think a thought, you hear it. If I say a thought, you hear it.
So telepathic.
Okay. I'm in a different part of the ship now. And because I don't know how else to describe what I'm seeing, I'll put it this way. If you take if you take a military graveyard, you know how the gravestones are arranged in
very
rows
uniform,
and yeah. Well, these are that way, but they're done in a circular formation, row after row after row.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the gravestones, I'm going to call them that, I'm sure they're not, are translucent, see-through almost.
So they just kind of guided your astral body there. You didn't move there yourself.
No, I didn't. It was done. It was
Cool.
part of the tour.
Uh-huh. Neat. So what's this,
Wait a
Commander?
minute. He says that's where the crew lives, so to speak, when they're not needed at the time.
So we know that something about the interdimensional spaces that races like you exist on your ships. That you can something can look very small, but then you walk through a door and the rooms are quite much bigger.
Well, this is like a field laid out. I mean, it's big.
So I imagine it's like that.
Now, I don't see like grass and stuff. There is some kind of, or seems to be some kind of fuzzy or carpeted area that these, I'm going to again call them tombstones. It's a really bad word, I know. Placekeepers. Okay.
And these are what we would call the crew quarters, sir?
For crew when they're not needed.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute, he's... Good crap, wow. I'm on some kind of flight deck. This thing is humongous.
This is where they keep their smaller craft?
He says yes, and this is also where craft can be teleported in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see that. First, let me explain this. This crew quarters goes... not crew's quarters, I'm sorry. Yes, sir, I'm sorry. landing bay, for lack of a better word on my part, extends what looks to be probably a couple of miles.
Wow.
Yeah. And quarter of a mile in height. The sides of it are lit up, and what I would say would be the floor and the ceiling would be, they're dark. They're dark gray.
Can you see like craft lined up in this space?
There are some further away from me that I would say they'd be a 1 or 2 pilot or 1 or 2 person occupant size craft, disc shaped. But between me and them, there's this very long, take a cigar and make it flat. Okay. And right now, I can actually see through it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see compartments and what have you?
I think it's phased somewhat. He says at this time, you could throw a physical object right through and no damage would be done.
It would pass through it, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. That's so cool.
Oh. Okay. I understand. Off to my right, if I were to go through this wall that's way off to my right, I would be inside a device that the Andromedans have, which is, I refer to it as a soul shredder. He says I'm not going to be permitted to see that. He doesn't want any description or technology of it getting out to anywhere else. He says, especially since humans tend to use devices against one another, why give them this? He says you have multiple ways of killing one another as it is already.
But as we know, just for our audience, this is a device that they use for
Demonics.
demons that are irredeemable.
Sir, I think I know the basics of how it works. I know. He just told me shut up.
Keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Could I ask about the crew, sir, just a little bit?
Wait a minute, I'm being taken to another section right now.
Okay.
Oh, I see, yeah. You take a letter A and chop off the top and make it, flat.
Yes.
Okay. There are slanted walls on either side of me with what look like somewhat oval-shaped doorways. You can't see in the doors. These are crew's quarters for what physical crew who would be on active duty.
Okay. So
Follow him? Yeah.
you the beings that are on board, the crew, when they're in their quarters, do they sleep as we know it, or go into a meditative state, or?
He says they do go into an altered state in which they recharge.
And again, because you have this trans-dimensional existence, do you have any need for sustenance? Do you drink water? Taking nutrients, food?
He says yes. In fact, right where I am while you were talking, I'm looking at a huge round concourse, I guess would be the best word. I get the feeling that there's more than just restaurants here, but I'm in an area that I would call a restaurant, for lack of a better word. There are...
Like a huge rotunda cafeteria kind of deal.
But it also looks like there are other types of small kiosks in the area.
Would these be what we would comport to shops?
He says yes, for free purchase. Wait a minute, how can you have free purchase? I mean, if you're purchasing, it's not free, right? It's all done on applied credits. Every Andromedan has a base set of credits assigned at birth, and can add to those through specialization and skill development, and through service to others, whether it be, he says, well, possibly military, but in many other ways, not just military.
So in these shops where they are able to obtain purchases from one crew member to the next, is there, do they have like, do you guys like have, an individuality in sense that, some person might have certain books or, movies that they have that they collect, or any kind of fond objects that they would have in their personal quarters, kind of thing?
He says yes. He says what you call books and entertainment, movies and the like, are purchased to be sent to your quarters. That will show up on a wall in your quarters, a wall-sized unit. That is actually part of one of the walls of your quarters. Right now, he's directed me to... What? Okay, I'll hold where I am. We went through a corridor, pretty much rectangular corridor. Tall, somewhat narrow. And right now I'm looking at... It kind of reminds me of a camera lens, but a really big one. And I can't get any closer. I've been told I don't dare get any closer. But there's a pinkish, purplish, whitish reaction going on in there. He says it has to do with what we would call a power center, but he said that's a crude term for it, and that it is intelligent. He says if I get any closer, I run the risk of what they're trying to avoid, and that's being unsettled in time.
Yes. And so how does that work? Is this something that the crew members interface with and get information from, or? He
says yes, or the ship, or both.
Okay.
He says you have to remember their technology is alive.
Yes.
And interactive with, he says intercommunicative with crew and with itself. Wow. He was just pointing to another wall for me to look at, and I'm looking at a scene from the American colonies He says near Virginia, when they were fighting the British. So this like just what we would call an acted movie, a scripted movie, or?
It sounds like they have.
He says no. This is a
they're
time
able
portal.
Yeah, they're actually able to look into real scenes. Their movies would be actual, real
Wow.
depictions of going back into the past, or you could probably use that to go into the future. I bet, right, sir?
He said the past and the future are the same. He's showing me a construction in the galaxy of Andromeda.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like a multiple stepped pyramid made of frosty crystal with a if I had to guess, I would say a blend of metal and crystal needle on the top of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this thing is quite tall. Okay. He's telling me it's time for me to go now. That my exposure here has been long enough for my safety.
So the energies on your ship could be detrimental to our energy matrix. Is that it?
He says no. He says the energies in questions here are a focal point of temporal conjunctions. And for my safety, he says, really, it's time for me to back out now.
Okay.
Well, thank you for the tour, sir. I appreciate it, and I hope our people watching this will appreciate it too. I think you've gone way out of your way to share with us, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
He said, may you all be blessed.
And you too.
Okay, I'm going to head back in now.
All right. Well, we're coming up on a half hour, so it's ready to end anyway. Well, there you go.
I feel like I'm not all here yet. I'm not kidding you. I had a hard time pulling out of that ship. Wow.
Interesting.
I mean, I see me, but it's like I'm slightly transparent. I know I'm not, but it feels like it.
All right, guys.
That was neat.
That's it for tonight.